All right, thank you so much. Welcome to another episode of the Love, Hope, Lyme podcast. My name is Fred Diamond. Of course, I'm the author of Love, Hope, Lyme, with family members, partners, and friends who love a chronic Lyme survivor. Need to know, just want to make the standard disclaimer here, Jesse, that even though we're going to be talking about Lyme disease and tick-borne disease, the show is not a replacement for medical treatment. If you're struggling with Lyme disease, please seek proper medical care. If you're watching this on YouTube, good decision, because we're going to be seeing some live musical performances today, or a performance by Jesse Ruben. Give us a thumbs up, give us some of your comments. If you have a question, feel free to communicate it through the comment section there, and we'll get to all your questions. And if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, thank you so much. Give us a thumbs up, a 5-star review, actually. We would greatly appreciate that as well. And of course, if you found us on Facebook or Instagram, any social media, please spread the word. Jesse, just want to remind people too that my book, Love, Hope, Lyme, I've made the PDF free for chronic Lyme survivors from day one. So if you'd like a copy, if you're a chronic Lyme survivor, feel free to reach out to me via any social media, and we'll definitely get it out to you as well. The book, of course, is on Amazon. If you'd like signed copies, Jesse, people will still reach out to me. They want to get a dozen copies for family members, partners, and friends. Reach out to me via social media, and we will make that happen. So today's a special show. It's something we haven't done before, and I'm very excited for a couple of different reasons. We got Jesse Ruben on the show, and Jesse, for our regular and loyal listeners, may recall, was on the Love, Hope, Lyme podcast. I guess it was 2023, with two of your colleagues at Generation Lyme, and that was a great show. We talked about the services and support that Generation Lyme offers thousands, if not tens of thousands, of Lyme survivors around the globe, with your meetups and communities and support networks. And that was a great show. Go up on YouTube and search Generation Lyme, and you could watch that. But we're talking to Jesse today by himself, and Jesse just came out with a new album, which is great. Yep, Jesse Ruben, and I'm thrilled to talk to you. I've seen you perform live twice. People may or may not know I'm based in Northern Virginia, right outside of Washington, D.C. And I saw you perform. It was one of your first shows back.
Yep.
It was back, I think, in April of 2023 at a place in my neighborhood, Jam and Java. And
Wow.
I know you said you've been on that stage many, many times. It's a nice little venue in a strip mall where they bring great indie performers typically. And I was great to see you there. I saw Mindy Smith there once, who was phenomenal. I don't know if you know Mindy or not, but
Yeah, of course.
yeah, she was phenomenal. And I saw you most recently, just a couple of weeks ago, and we're doing today's recording in October of 2025 at the Vault at the Capital One Center in Northern Virginia, right outside of Tyson's Corner. And it's it's relatively new, that whole area.
Yeah,
The
it's
Capital
amazing what they've built there. It's like a whole neighborhood basically just sprang up out of nowhere, and they happened to put some really incredible music venues in it. I was in the smaller one, but one day I'd like to play the bigger venue.
Well, we'll get you there. Matter of fact, I saw a Tom Petty cover band play in the
Amazing.
bigger. I love
Amazing.
Tom. It was amazing, and yeah, there's a Capital One has its headquarters there, and there's a couple of hotels, and there's a Wegmans. But you performed songs from your new album. I want to ask you about the album in a second, but one particular song that you performed that you gave me the permission to record, and I then distributed that via Instagram and Facebook. And it was probably one of the most popular things I've ever shared on social media. And it was you singing the song called Monster. So get people caught up here for a little bit. Tell us a little bit about the album. How can they get the album? And then what we're going to do is we're going to do something I'm very excited about. I used to be a DJ after college. I've learned that you were also a DJ. So we're going to dissect Monster, and from a musical and from a lyrical perspective. And the lyrics, I know that the people listening who have chronic Lyme disease or are in remission, whatever, they're very personal lyrics, but they're also lyrics that tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people who have gone through chronic Lyme disease still have it. Maybe they're in remission, can relate to. And it's very, very powerful. So we're going to break the song into thirds.
Yeah.
We're We're going to talk about the lyrics. Why did you come up with them? And the music as well. Okay, that's enough of the preamble. So get us introduced here a little bit and tell us where you are. Share if you're whatever you want to share about your Lyme journey, and then we'll start talking about the song.
Yeah, so I'm here in Atlanta, Georgia. We moved here about a year ago for my wife's job. She's an actor and she's on a soap opera called Beyond the Gates, airs every day on CBS. You should check it out. Um, but I'm sort of at the tail end of my second bout of this disease, of Lyme disease, and I have Lyme and Babesiosis, and yeah, during COVID, like a lot of my symptoms came back.
Mm.
And it's just now, like in like March of 2021, and it's just now that I'm finally starting to get back to remission again and being able to perform again. Like when you saw me in 2023, I was a mess. Like I can't even believe I played that show. But now, as a much, much healthier person that is able to be more present on stage and honest and vulnerable, I think people are really responding to that. I'm happy that people are responding to that. But also, what's interesting about this album is I finished it in 2020. Like it was
Mm.
supposed to come out in 2020 or the beginning of COVID, and then I got sick again. And so, like, to a lot of people, this album is new. And to me, this just was sitting on my hard drive for years. And once I started feeling better, I just picked a date and just was like, I just have to put this out in the world. And what's interesting is that Monster was one of the last songs that we put on the album at all, because I was kind of worried that people in my life were going to be like, really, dude? Like, you're still talking about this?
Mm.
Like, it's been since 2013 and you talk about this all the time. And is it that much of a big deal? And the answer is yes. Like, I think about Lyme disease every day. I worry about Lyme disease every day. I interact with people who have Lyme disease every day. Um, we've been running Generation Lyme for like 6 years now. We've had thousands and thousands of people on our meetups. I host our podcast, which we
Mm.
had to put on hold for 3 years because of my illness. We do community events. So, like, I talk about Lyme disease at every show because at every single show, no matter where, because now I'm in the South. So now I'm playing all over the South. And everyone knows that it's up in New England and Martha's Vineyard and all this stuff. Actually, I was just at like a dinner party and a couple of people had been to Martha's Vineyard and there were probably like a dozen of us there, and they were talking about how bad the ticks are, and Lone Star ticks, and Alpha Gal, and how bad that is there. And I was having this surreal moment that I was in a group of people, and there was a discussion about Lyme disease, and I wasn't the one saying anything. And I thought that was like, what a step forward that is, because that's never happened to me before. If it comes up, it's me being like, oh, okay, but when you're up there, you should really be careful. And they were talking about the precautions they took and checking themselves, and so that was really wild. But so Monster was the song where I was like, I don't know, like maybe I'll put it out. But what I had seen was when I would be at shows and talk about my experience, there was always somebody who either was sick themselves or knew someone was sick, whether it was like a friend or a family member. And some of them were diagnosed with Lyme already. Some of them were like, oh, no, no, I don't have Lyme, but I have these 11 completely unrelated autoimmune issues, which, like,
Mm.
come on. Or just like, I've been struggling for a little while, and I really attribute it to just being older or busy or any of that stuff. But
Mm.
um, there's like a truck backing up outside. But there's just always somebody who needs to talk to me about this. And so like I will talk about it for every show for the rest of my life, because the way that I figured out my diagnosis, the reason I started down the path of Lyme disease was because I was up all night researching, trying to figure it out. And like a friend of a friend called me. I was on tour I was on a tour I didn't want to be on. I was in a hotel room at a party, and I went into the bathroom to talk to this guy, I don't even remember his name, to be honest. And he was like, "Hey, I heard about what's happening to you. I think you might have Lyme disease." And that was when I started looking up Lyme. Like I left the party, went to my room, got my computer, and started researching Lyme disease. And I found I had really bad brain fog at the time, and so I found that the later I stayed up, the clearer and clearer my head was. So
Mm.
at that point, I was staying up till 4, 5, 6, 7 in the morning, sleeping during the day, just forcing myself to stay up because that was the only time I could have like an actual cognitive thought. And I remember it was probably 4 or 5 in the morning, and I found this random PDF on a random website that said possible Lyme disease symptoms. And it was the first time that like everything that I had been dealing with was on the same piece of paper, on the same page. Because I had been diagnosed with lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, chronic fatigue syndrome, low vitamin D deficiency, obviously depression, and it was like none of them fit. Like none of them, it's really hard to have a really smart doctor person sit across a desk from you and tell you, "Oh, I'm so glad you're here. Like I know exactly how to fix it." And then they tell you what they think it is, and you're just going, "I don't agree with any of
Mm.
this." That's a really
Yeah.
scary feeling, and it's really isolating. And I felt like do I have some like random horrifying thing that no one's
Mhm.
ever had before? And the reality was I was living in Brooklyn and you throw a rock 100 feet in any direction and probably you'd hit somebody who was also dealing with this. But I didn't know that. And so I didn't know how prevalent it was. And so when I finally got my diagnosis and found my community and we started doing Generation Lyme, it just was like, oh, the more open that we are, the more open I am about this, the more people, I realize how much people need that. In the same way that before I found my community through my doctor's office, like I was so scared. I was
Mm.
so scared and there was like why is this happening to me and do I deserve this and did I do something horrible in a past life? Is there something in the
Mm.
walls that's killing me? Like, and I had a moment where, our family doctor, we'd known my whole life and grew up going to him, and I really loved him, and I'd gone to him a couple times, and he was like, "Listen, Jesse, you're super healthy." At the time, I was running the New York City Marathon every year. And he was like, "I have good news, man. Like there's nothing wrong with you." And I remember looking at him and like he handed me the test and I was looking at the test and I looked up at him and I was like, "You don't understand. Like I'm gonna die." Like I was really worried that I was dying, for a while.
Mm.
And so just that disconnect between my experience and what I was being told medically was very scary. So yeah,
Yeah.
this it just became like, all right, I'm gonna do a scary thing and I'm gonna put this song out into the world and we'll see what happens.
So let's start talking about the song. So again, the song's Monster. So your album's out.
Yep.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Just briefly, how can people get the album? Where's it available and how can they order it and things like that?
Yeah, for sure. It's on all streaming platforms, but I don't know if people know this or not, but artists make essentially $0
Mm.
from streaming platforms. So if you would like to be my favorite person in the world and get a physical copy of it, you can go to my website, jesseruben.com. There's a store right there, and you can get it on CD or vinyl. This is the first time I've pressed an album on vinyl, which is very, very cool. So I'm excited
Mm.
about that. And it's been really amazing. Like I've been shipping them all over the world to people who have heard that song. There are people that have been following me for a long time,
Mm.
and I sort of not expected but hoped that they would want it. But there are people that are like, I heard this song and I didn't know how much I needed this song, and that are in that exact situation. And a lot of the messages I've gotten, which I'm sure are similar to yours, like some of them are so beautiful and grateful, and some of them are so heartbreaking. And you just always wish there was more you can do. And I feel like
Mm.
until the medical community catches up, we as the Lyme community have to save each other and or at least keep each other sane enough until the treatments and the vaccines come along. So
Yeah, that's actually right. When you were doing the introduction to the song in Northern Virginia, you said, a lot of what you just said, but you also said there's two kinds of people who go through chronic illness. Those who are like, okay, I had it, never want to talk about it again.
Yeah,
And there are those who devote a good portion of their lives. And when I started doing research on how Lyme affected someone once in my life, I discovered people who created 501(c)(3)s and,
yeah,
missions and charities and have become advocates and have become part of that community and trying to what I like to say is to bring peace to a community that needs it. So
yeah.
the song is monstrous. What we're going to do here is we're going to break it into thirds, and you're going to go through the first third, and then we're going to talk about it. I'm going to ask you, why did you come up with those lyrics, and help us understand the music if it makes sense, and what were you trying to achieve, and then we could probably talk, Jesse, believe it or not, for hours. I know
Yeah, of
me.
course.
I know me, but again, we have a 27-minute show, so we got about 10 minutes here.
Oh,
So I know
okay.
so I know your guitar is nice and tuned. So let's get started here. So the song, so just to bring us up to date. So you said you wrote this song. Again, we're doing today's show in October of 2025.
Yeah.
You wrote this and finished it in 2020?
I started it. I started it in the mid like at 4:45 in the morning during like the worst period of my life and then forgot about it because my brain didn't work. But I was just so I remember my mom said to me once, like, Jesse, you're trying so hard to convince us there's something wrong with you.
Mm,
And I said to her, like, yeah, and I shouldn't have to.
mm.
And so it was so heartbreaking and devastating and made me so sad and so angry, which is stuff that I've been processing for the last like 12, 13 years and trying to deal with in a healthy way. And even with my wife, like we still have conversations about what it was like for her, and I'm just now starting to get the impact of what it was like for her. So anyway, I'll start. I'll do the first verse of the song, and then we can talk about it. You hear that guitar, all right?
I do. Sounds good.
Something's wrong here, doctor, and I don't know what it is, but there's a monster in my body, and it's living in my limbs, and it's tearing through my system like a hurricane wind that won't stop. And I'll do anything it takes. I'll spare no expense. I will swallow any medicine that you think will work best. Just don't tell me that I'm faking. Don't tell me that it's all in my head. I was a young and healthy man. I was a young and healthy man. I was a young and healthy man.
Wow. So everyone listening to this who has chronic Lyme disease can relate to so much there. Don't tell me I'm faking, right? So young and healthy man. I've met so many people. Originally, Jesse, I was going to call my book Love, Loss, Lyme.
Mm,
What family members, partners, and friends who love a chronic Lyme survivor need to know. And I changed alliteration aside, I changed loss to hope
yeah,
because I've met so many people by that point who had told me all the things that they lost, family, relationships, the ability to do things. You mentioned, the ability to think with brain fog. Um, when you were writing that about the doctor, were you picturing a doctor in particular, or were you picturing how many doctors had you seen? I mean, I've spoken to
16.
Lyme survivors of 16.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So is
that's
that kind of,
low. That's
yes.
low. You know, I know people who I was lucky. I didn't feel lucky at the time, but between when I started getting really bad and when I got my diagnosis was like 9 months.
Mm.
And I know people for whom it was decades. But I was so angry and I was so frustrated because nobody could help me. And I literally was like, it changed my relationship with money. My illness changed my relationship with money, where money
Hmm.
became not not as like a status thing, but literally like just the pathway towards treatment. Like I didn't care how much it cost. I didn't care what you wanted me to do. Like I would do anything. And when because all I had was those first two lines on this like voice memo. Something's wrong here, doctor, and I don't know what it is. There's a monster in my body. Because I used to say to my mom, like, you don't understand. There's something inside, there's something that needs to be killed, and once it's killed, I will be fine. And
Mm,
I had this crawling sensation under my skin that didn't go away.
mm.
And it wasn't like pins and needles, it was literally like I used to picture like little bugs crawling under my skin, and I would take these like I like gave myself burns because I would take these really hot baths because I thought if I boiled them they would like you do crazy stuff, like you do
Yeah.
crazy stuff. And I was so desperate, and I was really the young and healthy man, like I was really mourning my life up until that point,
Yes.
where everything I knew about what it was like to be me, what I thought might be gone forever, you know? Um,
Yeah, I've heard so many people who said things like, I miss the old me,
yeah,
or, a lot of women who can't work anymore, who miss the active, the mother, the worker, the
yeah.
friend, take care of all those things. And
Lyme
just kind of curious.
disease is
Yeah,
unique. Lyme disease is unique, or all of these tick-borne,
yeah,
autoimmune, all this stuff, they are unique in that they can take anything about your life that brings you any joy whatsoever
yeah,
and rob you of that thing.
yeah,
Like I couldn't read books, I couldn't listen to music,
yes,
couldn't really spend time with friends, I couldn't watch movies, I couldn't spend time with my girlfriend. Like I couldn't do a jigsaw puzzle. I couldn't comprehend. I would read one line in a novel over and over and over again because I couldn't get so anything, all the stuff that I enjoyed, talking to friends on the phone, like was gone, was just gone.
yeah.
And then
So
it,
before we get to the second verse, the title "Monster,"
yeah.
did that come to you years ago, or did that come to you as you're sitting down to write the lyrics? Because it's a great word, and you talk about the hurricane within your body, and
Yeah.
people who are experiencing Lyme, I'm sure, can experience that. But just kind of curious with the word "monster," do you remember how that came about?
I always think a lot about titles, and like young and healthy man like didn't seem
Yeah.
to do the trick.
Hmm.
At one point, I thought I might call it Hurricane Wind, but then it was like,
Hmm.
no, what is the thing that I am talking about here? It's
Yeah.
this thing that I'm like desperate to get rid of that's inside of me, like so desperate. And I always pictured it as this like mean, sort of like snarling, angry thing that was just living inside of me. Like I used to have nightmares about it all the time. And so, uh, to
Wow.
that, yeah, monster seemed to be the only
Wow.
word that it could be.
All right, let's get to the second part here.
Something's wrong here, doctor, and I don't know what to do, 'cause there's a monster in my body. Now I can barely move, and I'm staring at the ceiling. I haven't left this room in so long. And I'll do anything it takes. I'll light myself on fire. I'll follow any option if it takes away the tired. Just don't tell me that I'm faking. Don't tell me that I am a liar. I was a young and healthy man. I was a young and healthy man. I was a young and healthy man.
So first off, the music is beautiful.
Thank
So
you.
good for you. So a couple things there. I'll do anything.
Yeah.
So most people think, of course, and the CDC and IDSA says 3 weeks of doxycycline, and then you should be good. And if you're not, well, gee. So, do you want to share the extremes that you went to try to find solutions?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because when the song came out, somebody commented like, "I remember Jesse saying in a meetup that he would light it." Like if you had told me, "Listen, we have a really great there's something that always works 100% of the time to get rid of this. We will douse you in kerosene and we have to light you on fire." And
Mm,
I would have said, "Hand me the match."
mm,
100%. Like no questions asked, no hesitation whatsoever, because we are so not designed to suffer day after day after day. It just takes a toll that I started a ketamine treatment this week
mm,
because it really altered the chemistry of my brain, and like doors that should have been open were shut and doors that were shut should have been open, and I'm just now like starting to process what it did to me and the toll that it took. Like I've been mostly pretty miserable for the last 12 years,
mm,
at least 10, because at one point when I was lying there, my brain just went like, I don't know if I can do this anymore, and I certainly don't want to, and this might be how it is forever. And
mm,
and so that fear of it coming back, which it eventually did, but also just there were some days where I could wake up and I could get out of bed. And then
mm,
there were some days where I would wake up and it would literally take me like 6 hours to have the energy to sit up. And like trying to explain that to somebody, like when they're like, "Oh, I haven't slept in 2 days. I'm so tired." It's like the word we have is tired.
mm,
We're not talking about the same thing. It's like when I talk about running the marathon and then the guy who wins the marathon, like we're not talking about the same athletic event.
mm,
Similarly, like what my tired and a quote unquote like normal healthy person's tired, we're not the same thing. And I spent so much time doing that and staring at my ceiling and being like,
mm,
what do I need to do? Like somebody tell me what to do. And I've done all the research and I really trust my doctors and what I because I did 6 months of oral doxy and then I did 18 months of IV azithromycin. I was taking
mm,
Chinese herbs. At one point I was up to like 85 pills and supplements a day. And my now wife told me at one point, asked me at one point, like, why are you doing this? None of this is working. And I was like, you don't understand. I have to do something.
mm.
I have to be trying something. If I do nothing, then there's no chance it's going to get better. But if I do something, if I do all of these things, maybe one of them will help me a little bit, you know.
Yeah. All right. So bring us to the last third of the song.
And ooh, doesn't it kill you? Doesn't it kill you to see me this way? And ooh, doesn't it kill you? Why doesn't it kill you to see me this way? To see me this way? To see me this way? I was a young and healthy man. I was a young and healthy man. I was a young and healthy man.
Wow. Jesse Ruben, the song is Monster. Why doesn't it kill you to see me this way? So, who are you? Do you want to share who you were saying that to?
It was like I I broke people down into two very black and white lists when I was dealing with my illness. One side was the people who were 100% on board right away, typically somebody who either had it or knew someone who had it and knew how serious it was, and then everybody else. So
Mm,
even if it like took you a little while to get there, or you were just asking questions, it was like F you.
mm,
And then like I was telling you before we started recording, like the week before I found the treatment that put me into remission the first time, which was chelation and ozone,
mm.
not medical advice, but
Yeah, sure.
it saved my life. The week before, my parents, my divorced parents, got together to say to me, like, listen, you've been telling us there's something wrong. You think it's this thing called Lyme disease. You've done all these tests and all these treatments and nothing's worked. Like, you might need to just learn how to live with this and move on with your life. And I just started laughing. I literally just started laughing. And I was like, if you were in my inside my body, if you were dealing with this for 5 seconds, you would be so ashamed of yourselves right now.
Mm,
You'd be so ashamed. And my mom printed out like a list of like the 10 most common symptoms of depression in young men. And of course I had them all, right?
yeah.
Fatigue and you know, staying in bed all day and um, not wanting to work and all these things. And she would be like, you are just so desperate to try and prove to us that, you know, there's something seriously wrong when all it is you don't want to like go to a therapist and take antidepressants. And I went to a therapist. That was the big turning point with my wife, was she drove me to that appointment. And I went into the appointment, and this very well respected, renowned psychologist, uh, you know, sat me down with the big beard, and he'd been practicing forever and all these awards. And I told him my whole story. I was there for like an hour and a half, and I told him everything that I'd been going through. And he looked at me and he said, you know what you need? You need to wake up early in the morning and take brisk walks around your neighborhood. And
Sure.
that'll get rid of all your problems.
Mm,
And I was so freaked out and so angry because I was like, have you listened to anything that I've been saying? And I left that appointment and I got in my wife, now wife's car, and I looked
mm,
at her and I was like, I need you to believe me right now or we can't do
mm.
this anymore. Like right this second, you need to be on board with this, otherwise we're over. And she was like, okay, I believe you.
Wow.
And that really was one of many turning points in our relationship, because I also begged her to leave and she didn't,
Mm,
and she should have, and no one
wow.
blamed her. And so the fact that we're still together is a miracle, and I am so grateful to her for staying. And I was miserable and angry, and she was walking on eggshells around me all the time, which is how I grew up with in my house with my dad, who was an angry guy.
Mm,
And I swore to myself I'd never be like that. And the whole time that I was doing that, and I knew that I was doing that, I was justifying it with, well, I have a really good reason. Like, I'm too sick to care about you, and I don't care about what's going on with you because I'm so sick, I can't and I don't want to. And like to have that as a partner, to be living with that for years, really took a toll on her and our marriage. But I was begging. So so it's not just the physical symptoms, which are so difficult, and then what it does to you mentally, because it breaks the blood-brain barrier and changes your personality and turned me into this angry person that I never was, and short-tempered and memory loss and all these things. There's the physical and mental aspect, and then there's the emotional piece, that these people that are supposed to love you and care about you and just borderline believe you when you say something didn't. They just
yeah.
didn't, you know? And
Yeah. Yeah. There's a couple things that you've said. One is I remember I interviewed someone for the podcast, and during the podcast, she mentioned how she did everything she could to send her husband away and to have her husband leave. And she said she begged him to leave,
yeah,
and he didn't. The other thing is, I remember I spoke to a Lyme survivor who said that one of her big problems was pain, the pain that came with the tick-borne disease. And she said that the nurse practitioner at her doctor said, maybe you just need a higher pain threshold.
Hmm.
And she said, I don't want pain. I don't want to have to learn how to live with the pain. I don't want the freaking pain anymore.
And I
So,
think that's
yeah.
what people say when they don't know how to help you. Like, and by the way, I'm a straight white male, and
Hmm.
the way that I was treated was so horribly, and I was dismissed so much. And then I hear stories of women and people of color and people in the LGBTQ community and trans people, and their stories, I can't even believe the stuff that they're. It's like women being diagnosed with like hysteria in the 1800s. Like it's so cruel, and yeah, we weren't in Jen and I were not in a relationship. For a long time, she would like bring me dinner and I would be miserable. And that's our relationship. For
Mm.
year I got sick 3 months after we started dating, by the way.
Wow.
3 months after we started dating. And and it got worse and worse and worse until it got better. And then even those years when it was better, I hadn't dealt with any of the emotional aspect of it at all, and I was miserable and angry and resentful all the time. And then it happened again. Then I got sick again, and the same thing happened where people didn't believe me and oh, you're just making too big a deal of this and you're too upset for what's happening to you, and it brought it all back. And in some ways it was worse because I knew what it felt like to feel better, and then I wasn't feeling better anymore. And now, very again, I'm not special. I'm just got lucky again. And
Yeah.
also, I was fortunate enough, like I didn't work for 4 years, and my wife
Yeah.
was responsible for floating us Not only didn't I work, I was like a negative $40,000 expense every year because of all these treatments and appointments and all these wacky things that I was doing. That there's nothing that I hear that surprises me anymore because something, no matter how crazy it is, has helped somebody. So,
Well, the song is going to help a lot of people. It's going to help them understand and let people listen. And the lyrics, again, are so pertinent, and the music is beautiful as well.
thank
So thanks, Jesse Ruben, for taking us through the song.
you.
This is the first podcast I've ever done where I've dissected a song, and I'm thinking about calling Robert Plant and have a maybe he and I can go through Stairway to Heaven together. And but so what people want to know, I mean, you're one thing I've learned, again, I've met so many people over the last 4 years since, I started working on the book and then publishing Love Hope Lyme in the summer of 2022. And you're an example of we have some mutual friends in common who knew you as the artist,
Yeah.
Jesse Rubin. And I, of course, met you through the Lyme World, Generation Lyme, and now this. And I know you come with a high degree of recognition and appreciation by a lot of people. Just to kind of wrap up the show, like what's next for you? Where are you going? I don't mean like my tour is going to go through Omaha, et cetera,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
where do you see yourself now that you're feeling better and healthy? Where do you want to go over the next couple of years?
I think that I spent so much time being making my not making myself miserable, but being miserable
Hmm.
between being sick and then getting better and really feeling like it was owed, my success was owed to me because of the suffering that I did. And I've been really starting to see over the last couple weeks that like I've had all these, like you get those messages from people and I get them too. I had a woman show up to one of my shows. I have a song called This Is Why I Need You, which I wrote after I got better the first time to like acknowledge people that had helped me get through it. And she told me like she heard it 10 years ago, like right around the time she lost her husband, and she listens to it every day when she thinks about him. And she had a shirt made that just had the lyrics printed over and over and over again.
That's
And
nice.
it was beautiful, and so to be able to impact people's lives like that is beautiful. So what I'm trying to do is not focus is focus on like quality over quantity. And I really feel great about the work we do at Generation Lyme. I love hosting meetups and connecting with people and helping them feel less alone and less crazy. So I'm going to continue doing that. And then as far as musically, I'm going to be touring as much as I can. I'm going to talk about Lyme disease at every show that I can. I also have a program for kids called the We Can Project, which is a service learning program for elementary and middle school students that I'm super excited to be doing. And what's kind of amazing is that I'm at a place where like I have no idea where I'm gonna be a year from now. But I know that I'm gonna be helping as many people as I can, and I'm gonna be writing the songs that I want to be writing. And I heard this really great interview on Mark Maron, this guy Mike Birbiglia, who's a comedian, and he said he would go do these spots every night, and out of 100 people, he does more storytelling stuff, not like joke punchline. And every night out of 100 people, two or three would really get what he was doing, and the rest would be like, what is this guy doing? And so I'm really clear that like what I'm doing and what I'm talking about, like if you're healthy and you never have had any experience with any of this, it can be really like, I'm not interested in what this guy has to do. But the people who connect with it are the people who really connect with it. And so I'm just trying to find those people and help them and make them feel better and continue to do things that make me feel good and not do things that don't make me feel good. And I'm really committed to like eating a healthy diet and not self-medicating and like being a good partner to my wife, which I haven't done in a decade, man. Like,
Mm. Yeah.
and making that a priority, making her a priority after spending years of sick career, sick career, sick career. It just doesn't work. It just hasn't worked and it hasn't made me happy. And um, yeah, so I've got all these songs that I've written over the last 5 years. I've already got the next album written. I'm sure by
Good.
in the next couple years I'll put that out and then the next one after that and the next one after that and continue to do fun podcasts like this.
Once again, thank you, Jesse Ruben, for taking us through the song. Go find Jesse Ruben, follow him if you do have the opportunity. If he comes to a town near you, go check him out. First of all, he's also very funny on stage, tells great stories. So it's definitely it's a great show. So Jesse, thank you so much
My
for
pleasure.
sharing everything you shared today. My name is Fred Diamond. This is the Love Hope Lyme podcast.